what does the fight look like today for the Nawa people?
Mm. There is two ways, the way I see it. First is the economic survival, and the other one is the identity. In Mexico, they just give you one choice mostly. You want to get a better economic way, you want to be part of the country, lose your identity, lose your language, be Mexican like us. That's a big pressure. Or you want to keep your identity as indigenous population and be isolated from the main country that listen música norteña, cumbias, that's the mainstream. So as a group, what do you want to do? So if you became wholly Mexican, you had whole rights as a Mexican population, but then you start losing. So the communities, they're in a battle. Like colonization is an ongoing process.
Yeah, the it seems like there has been a growing Mexican pride, which is good. It's not a bad thing,
Mhm.
but which is taken away from the indigenous side of things. And
Mhm.
when you look at, there's a trend going on TikTok right now where it's 23andMe, and people are getting their DNA results,
Mhm.
and the average Mexican person has like 50% indigenous DNA.
Mhm.
And that's a lot more than a lot of people who claim to be native in North America today. They're going in, like, for me, I have 50% blood because my dad is full and my mom, she isn't, but
Mhm.
there's like a lot of cousins or people who are registered to my tribe, they might have 30%.
Mhm.
They're not 100%. And so when you think about it in that regard, these are indigenous people that are now coinciding with their colonizer, because that's all they know. They don't know their indigenous history.
Yeah, I got a teacher that say that we are the colonizers. We are colonized, and then we're colonizing people. We were the feeders, we were defeated, and then we defeat our people. So when this is, history is very very it's hard. And I had a saying in Spanish, but I don't know if I can tell it in English, is si quieres conocer la verdad, mereces el castigo de encontrarla. Can you translate? It's like if the,
She doesn't know
if
you.
you want to find the truth, you deserve the punishment to find it.
Oh, okay.
What happened in Mexico? That the Spanish didn't conquer Mexico, man. The nation around Mexico conquered themselves. It was a civil war,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the Spanish came um, unite with the Tlaxcaltecas. The Tlaxcaltecas and the Spanish, the, actually, the Tlaxcaltecas unite 40,000 people, 40,000 indigenous Central Mexican people against the Mexica people.
Oh.
We defeated only 1,000 Spaniards. So the official story says the Spanish conquered the Aztecs. But when you read, you see Istlizochil was the Texcoco leader, and he bring 20,000 warriors. He know all the tactics. He know how the weather. He know the tradition, right? So I won't explain here because it will take a long time. But actually, the defeat of the Mexica people was done for the people around them because they hate each other. We the help of the few Spaniards,
That is,
right?
so the indigenous people helped the Spaniards conquer themselves,
Yeah, yeah.
and ultimately it backfired on them.
They
Yeah.
didn't know that in the other continent were millions of people. They didn't know. They saw the Spaniards, the Tlaxcalans, they always want to be like the Mexica. And they saw the Spaniards, oh yeah, an ally was a good opportunity, and they unify all the people. The story is amazing. Nation tras nation, uniting, Xochimilcas, Cholultecas, uniting against the Aztecs. When the Mexica, when the Mexica were defeated, then the Mexica people, it was another thing. You had to think like them. It's very strange. If I fight with you, I don't know in the north because I'm a lecturer in the north tradition, but in the south, if I fought with you, and you defeat me, then I am your ally, and then I help you to defeat your enemy.
Hmm. And so that's how the Aztec Empire grew, by basically defeating nearby nations, growing in power and slowly taking over.
Mm,
And so that's why the other indigenous people rose up to basically fight them, is
mhm.
because they didn't want to be conquered themselves by the Aztec.
Or they want to be the conquerors too.
Okay, so in that regard, Mexico today, if they never rose up and helped the Spaniards defeat the Aztecs, instead of it being in Mexico, it would be like Azteca.
Or maybe Tlaxcalan, or maybe Purepecha,
Mm.
because they tried to unite, but they couldn't unite the Mexica and the Purepecha. So the Purepecha were defeated. Actually, they didn't even fight with the Spaniards. They say, okay, we want to be your allies. And then the Mexica, the Tlaxcalans, and the Purepecha went south to Guatemala, defeat the Mayans
The
from
Mayans.
Guatemala.
Mm.
And then a group of mainly Tlaxcalan men. I'm talking about 5,000 soldiers, 10,000 soldiers in expeditions with 300 Spaniards, maybe, or less. They went up to New Mexico, where now we call New Mexico, and defeated Pueblo people. And every place that they were establishing towns, mixed towns, with the new colonizer Tlaxcalans and the Spanish.
Yeah, they did that in California all the way up. And I just interviewed, I talked about this already, Sean Milanovic,
Mhm.
and he's Cahuilla, and they did that to the Cahuilla people over there in the desert, where they went and they took their lands, they took their women, they
Mhm.
took their farms, and
Mhm.
they just made it their own. This was the Mexicans at that time, because it was no longer, it wasn't just the Spanish anymore. It was
Mhm.
now the Mexican government at that time that were having their people move north. And
Mhm.
yeah, and I think that's when it leads into the Mexican American War eventually, when that became Mexico, right? Texas
Mhm.
and parts of California.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So, like I say, is if you want to study history, you have to go in detail, and you have to be prepared because sometimes it's painful
Yeah.
when you listen to these things, right?